بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new session on Islamic Fiqh. I hope before we start the class that the vast majority of you have registered in the website and participated in the quizzes they send, because as stated before that there will be prizes inshallah, and this would add value to you in terms of fixing the knowledge itself to maintain it with the grace of Allah. So we begin into studying the fiqh. Now, if you look at the vast majority, if not all books of fiqh, you will find that it begins usually with chapters dealing with water, vessels that carry the water, and whether it is pure or najis, halal to use or haram. It deals with najasat, impurities, and it deals with mainly wudu. Why is so much emphasis placed on these things? Scholars say that the first thing a person will be held accountable on the Day of Judgment is his prayer. So if his prayer is valid, then all of the rest of his good deeds would be valid. And if not, then not. And this is why they put a lot of emphasis on prayer and anything related to prayer. Because if Allah would not accept your good deeds, as this is dependent on the validity of your prayer, in this case, prayer has a great importance in our lives, and hence we should take care of it. When we study fiqh, we should give it a priority. But by default, your prayer is invalid unless it fulfills the conditions. What conditions are there? There is the condition of purity, there is the condition of the time is due, the direction of the qibla, covering the awra, different conditions. So when it comes to purity, wudu is what first comes to mind. Yet, the scholars differentiate between two things in purity. So when they give the definition of purity, الطهارة رفع الحدث وإماطة الخبث, it even rhymes. Purity is the uplifting of the ritual impurity, which is either done by wudu or ghusl. We have minor impurity, major impurity, hadath. And this is second half, removing of the impurities that are physical. So for instance, your prayer is invalid if you know that there is an impurity substance on your body or on your clothes or on the spot you are praying on. Half of the purity is not there, which is imatatul khabath. And the first half, which is uplifting the ritual impurity, whether minor or major, the minor deals with wudu, which we will talk about inshallah, hopefully today, maybe on coming sessions. What is wudu? See, the state you're in is either you are on a ritual purity or not. Okay, go on so that I can follow. when you perform wudu, you are in the state of major and minor ritual purity, which means that you can pray. Now, I'm not going to go into the major ritual impurity, which is known to be the state of kufr to some scholars, and a state of janaba resulting from sexual intercourse or discharge of semen, or the state of a woman being in her menses or postnatal bleeding. All of those are in the state of major ritual impurity, which means that they cannot pray. They cannot enter the masjid unless they're passing by. They cannot hold the mushaf. They cannot recite the Quran, among other things. And this is uplifted by having ghusl. And we will come to that later on. Our concern today is with the issue of uplifting the minor ritual impurity. Okay, Sheikh, what is this ritual impurity caused of? We will come to that inshallah in a while. But this ritual impurity does not show physically. So now you cannot know if I am in the state of wudu or not. This is something between me and Allah Azza wa Jal. It is not something that you put me on the scale and you say, okay, he's on wudu. Or you say, nope, he has to go and make wudu. This is something that no one can detect. It's a ritual thing. So, in order to pray, you have to be in the state of wudu. Otherwise, your prayer is invalid. So, what does wudu linguistically means? You will find in the textbook, and not everything in the textbook is 100% proof, because this is not the Quran. Only the Quran is 100% accurate and that does not accept any error. But human effort, you have to have discrepancies, shortcomings, wrong things here or there, but minute. And this is what we are doing, studying the book so that we have a reference, and at the same time taking notes. If there is something wrong, why is it wrong, where did it come from, to the best of our ability and to the time inshallah that is allocated to us. Okay, so linguistically speaking, wudu is derived from the root that connotes good looking, cleanliness and brightness. In Arabic, rajulun wadi, meaning that he is illuminating, not that if we turn off the lights that he would shine, but rather he is bright. Something comes out of him and he looks, mashallah, positive. This is wadi. Wadi is also describing someone who's beautiful, who's handsome. Linguistically, it is the use of water in respect of 4 organs: the face, arms, head and feet, in a particular way defined by Islam with the intention of worship. So if you do the acts of wudu that we usually do, but you do not intend that it is wudu, you're just doing it as a habit, as an exercise, for any other reason, this doesn't count. It has to have the intention of worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, where does wudu actually come from? Well, this is clear in chapter 5, verse 6 in Surah Al-Ma'idah. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. The ayah. So it clearly states, "O you who believe, whenever you want to pray, then you have to wash your faces, your hands till your elbows, wipe over your heads and wash your feet." So this is in the Quran. Also in hadith of Uthman ibn Affan, may Allah be pleased with him, he described how the Prophet ﷺ used to perform the wudu. So we know that this is the consensus of all scholars upon it. No one ever differed among the Muslims saying, oh, no, wudu is not mandatory. No, this is something recommended, or this is an innovation. No one dares to say this, because all Muslims agree upon this fact. Wudu is a means of purification. If you were to come and look into the good sides of it, it is sufficient to know that when you perform wudu, all your sins drain out from your body. So anything you looked at with your eyes or heard with your ears, once you wash your face, it drips, that is the sins, it drips with the last drop of water coming out from your face. Likewise, if you had done something with your hands, if you had done something with your feet, it all drains away and out of your body because of wudu. And there are so many virtues of wudu, this is not the time to go through them. So, what are the requirements for performing wudu? The textbook we have says, in order for the ablution to be valid, it must comply with the following requirements. Number one, belief in Islam, sanity, and sense of discrimination. These are known to be the conditions for being accountable. So usually you'll find these conditions in the very beginning of every single act of worship. You have to be Muslim. You cannot fast if you're not Muslim. Not the ability or the physical ability, rather it would not be accepted from you. So fasting, it requires that you are a Muslim. If someone who's insane fasts, this is not permissible because he's not considered to be sane. And if someone does not have the sense of discrimination, this is a rough translation to being able to distinguish right from wrong. So for example, a woman takes an Uber and she has a 2-year-old child, and she says that this child breaks the seclusion with the driver of my Uber. We'd say, no, this is not true, because this child does not have the sense of discrimination. He cannot say or tell whether the driver is hitting on you or not. But if the child is 8 years of age, 9 years of age, though he's not an adult yet he is aware of what's happening and he can understand what the driver is hinting to. So the driver would most likely be afraid to say anything, because there is someone who is listening and aware of what he is trying to do. So these are the three conditions that are always required in any form of worship. So a child who is beyond or below the sense of discrimination age, if he's 5 years of age, 6 years of age, and wants to pray, should we tell him to perform wudu or not? Yes, this is part of teaching him. But we would neglect if he did not wash one of his arms or the likes. The second requirement is intention. And the vast majority of scholars say that intention for wudu is a must, because the Prophet said, verily deeds are judged by their intention. So if someone just goes to the toilet not thinking of what he wants to do, or it's not a time for prayer. Let me give you another example. It's not a time for prayer, and a person goes and answers the call of nature, and soon afterwards he finds himself washing his left foot, and he looks in the mirror and he finds he finds that he had already performed wudu. Now it is not time for prayer to perform wudu, and he did not intend to perform wudu. Rather, it is an automatic reaction to whenever he answers the call of nature. So can he pray with that wudu? The answer is no, because this was not intended. It's different to someone hearing the adhan or wanting to go to the masjid, and he goes to the toilet to answer the call of nature and to make wudu. Khalas, his intention was done. He doesn't say anything verbally, or he doesn't need to think about it, because this is what he's going to do and he already thought about it, unlike our friend in the first scenario. Number 3, the requirement says it has to be clean water, and this is not accurate. See, the people of fiqh, the scholars, choose their words very carefully. Clean water, and he defines ablution cannot be done using water that has been contaminated by impurity. In this case, you should have said tahir water, or pure from impurity water, because clean does not mean it is not contaminated, and dirty does not mean you cannot make wudu with that. Clean and dirty are terms that we use in our daily lives that have no connection to whether I can make wudu or not. So for example, in some countries where they use ductile iron or some sort of metal pipes that rust, if you turn the tap water, in the beginning you will get yellowish water. Is this clean for you to drink? No, I'm not going to drink this. Would you wash your clothes with it? Definitely not. It's going to stain. Is this permissible to perform wudu with? The answer is yes. Though the color has changed, but not with an impurity, an najasa like urine or feces. Rather, it was changed due to the rust, the corrosion in the pipes. Therefore, this is not clean, but you can perform wudu with it. And likewise, if we have a container of water that looks clean, smells clean, but you see a drop or more of urine fall into it, let me avoid urine, because one of the characteristics did not change with the najasa. If you have a container of water and a dog comes and drinks from it, licks it, so it smells good, it looks good, but you know that this is definitely impure and that you cannot drink it and you cannot perform wudu with it because it's najis. To the folks who don't believe in Islam would say, yeah, but this is clean water. I have no problem with my pet, a dog, licking it or drinking from it, so I can perform wudu. The answer is no. Muslims do not do that. Though it is clean in your standards, it is najis in Islam's standards. So the word clean water, if we adjust it and change it into it has to be pure from najasa water, that would be better, inshallah. Number 4, removal of anything that prevents skin contact with water, such as the presence of wax or dough on some spots or nail varnish. So it is requirement of wudu that the organs mentioned, which we will come to discuss inshallah later. Let me check the recommended part. Yes, we will come and talk about it. The organs of wudu must have no barriers between them and water. So if I have paint on my hand, wudu is invalid, because the layer of paint prevents the water from reaching my skin. If I have nail polish, the same thing happens. I cannot consider myself in the state of wudu because the water did not reach my nail. There was a layer on top of it. And this is a real physical layer that has a mass. Unlike if I have a pen and I draw a line, you can see it's blue, but this does not consist a layer. So when I wash, this is just a color. When I apply hinna or mehndi on my hands, although men are not allowed to do this, but hypothetical, and then there is no residue, there is nothing solid on it except the color. This color does not prevent water from reaching the skin, unlike when it has a mass and a layer preventing the water from reaching the skin. Number 5, cleaning the private parts after discharge. And I don't know what this has to be or to do with requirements of wudu. This is not related to wudu, that you clean yourself after defecating or urinating. This is something different. This is called istinja and istijmar. I may perform wudu afterwards, I may not. So this is not connected with the chapter of wudu, and hence should maybe be removed. Immediate progress from one action to the next. And this is known as al-muwalat. See, I have 4 organs I have to take care of: washing the face, washing the arms, wiping over the head, and washing the feet. There has to be simultaneousness when I do this. I cannot wash my face and then I make a phone call and I text messages and maybe go and check the microwave and then come back and wash my arms. This does not work this way, because for many reasons, and we will get to hopefully today to talk about this in a while, inshallah. And whether this is measured by the drying of the limbs or not, because this is also an issue of confusion with a lot of the Muslims. They think that in order to have immediate progress from one action to the next, that you must not have any of your limbs dry. So if I want to wash my feet, I have to grab my foot to the sink, which means that I have to, with my hands, hold my trousers. Now my hands are dry, so my wudu is invalid because I did not have this immediate progress. No. This is a different issue altogether. There's nothing wrong in drying your limbs by itself or due to the actions of wudu. In hot weathers like here in Saudi Arabia, when sometimes it reaches 47, 48 Celsius, centigrade. If you're performing wudu, by the time you wash your arms, your face is already clean, dry. So what should I do? This is a vicious circle. Should I keep on doing wudu for the rest of my day? The answer is no. What is meant is by muwalat is that you do not leave a gap, which according to the urf, which is one of the sources of legislation we discussed last time, according to the urf, the gap between washing your face and arms are not long. So yes, if I am washed my face and someone said something to me and I replied, took a couple of seconds, then went on with washing my arms, there's no problem. There was not a long gap. Unlike if I go and open the door and welcome the guests in, and then I go back to the toilet trying to finish what I started. Number 7, following the proper order. And this is known in Arabic as at-tartib. So the order in the Quran: faces, arms, head, feet. If someone went to make wudu and he found that he washed his arms to the elbows but did not wash his face, he forgot. So he simply washes his face. What's the big deal? And he goes on to wipe over his head. We say your wudu is invalid. And why would it be invalid? Because you did not follow the order. So what? Well, if you notice that Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned 2 organs to be washed. فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ. And the 4th organ is also to be washed. وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. But in between, Allah inserted an organ to be wiped over and not to be washed. So had it been washing the face, the arms, the legs, and then wiping the head, then okay, the order would not have been of great importance. But to have 2 washed organs and then a 4th one separated by wiping, this means that the order is intended. And it is sufficient to know that the Prophet ﷺ, throughout his remaining life in Medina, 10 years, had never ever gone against the order mentioned in the Quran. So we have to stick to it, and it is a pillar, one of the pillars of wudu, as we will hopefully discuss in a while. Now, the following section talks about mostly what we have discussed, which is the obligatory part. The obligatory part. What are the obligatory parts in wudu? What do you mean by obligatory? Meaning that they are pillars of wudu. So there are 6. We won't discuss them a lot so that we can save a little bit time, but just in case, first of all, the first pillar is washing one's whole face. As God says, believers, when you are about to pray, wash your faces. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم. And the face, as scholars define it, is from the roots of the hair till the chin. This is your chin. It's not below. It's this is the face. And from the ear to the ear. So a lot of the Muslims just wash this area, avoiding the sideburns to the ear, and don't wash it. Their wudu is invalid. Yep. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. You have to wash the whole face, which is washing it from the roots of the hair entirely, and this area as well, because this is included. So like this, and you wash your face. This is pillar number 1. Hold on your horses, Sheikh. What do you mean pillar number 1? We know that wudu, first thing you do is wash your hands. Wrong. What do you mean wrong? I've been doing this all my life. Yeah, this is not part of the wudu. This is sunnah. This is recommended. If you want to do it, go ahead. If you don't, you just go ahead by washing your face, no problem. Seriously? Yeah. This is what's mentioned in the Quran. إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. If you are to pray, wash your faces. This is the first thing to do. But the sunnah, as we will come to get to know inshallah, is to clean your hands first 3 times before dipping it into the bucket of water and washing your face and doing the rest of the wudu procedure. Number 2, washing one's arms up to the elbows. as the relevant verse makes it clear, and your hands and arms up to the elbows. This is pillar number 2. Now, in pillar number 1, the text did not consider swirling the water in your mouth, madmada, and rinsing your nose by sniffing it up to your nostrils and blowing that water, which is called al-istinshaqu wal-istinthar. Why is that? Because the author does not think it's mandatory, though it is mandatory, and this is the most authentic opinion of scholars. So after doing that, you wash your arms to the elbows, which a lot of us make the common mistake. Sheikh, you're destroying me. Everything in my wudu now you're telling me is wrong. I've been worshipping Allah in the wrong way. This is why we're here. So what mistake what was I doing? See, the vast majority of Muslims turn the faucet on, and then they wash their arms from the wrist up to the elbows. So they do this, and then they do this. Okay, Sheikh, what's wrong? I've been doing this all my life. The problem is that they don't wash their hands, because they are relying on the fact that they wash their hands in the very beginning of wudu 3 times. So this is wrong? Of course this is wrong. We've said that you have to have order. One of the pillars of wudu, the 6 pillars, order. So the order was not made there because they washed their faces. When it came to the hands, they said they washed it earlier, and this doesn't count. So the right way of doing it is, after you wash your face, you wash from your fingertips to your elbow, and this would count and would be sufficient. Number 3, wiping one's head with one's wet hand. And I'm not going to go into difference of opinions of schools of thought who said that 1/4 of the hair is sufficient. Some said 3 hairs are sufficient. Others went into we don't want to go into details that are not backed by evidence. Yes, the schools of thought, they may deliberate on such issues, spend a lot of time giving a lot of logical comments that are not based on the Quran and the Sunnah. What does Allah say in the Quran? وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. Now the issue is بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. The letter B. Is it to minimize the amount, or is it to mean to be touching and adjacent to? It's an issue of dispute. We are not that interested in such issue of dispute that would confuse us. Just show me how to perform wudu. So the sunnah, and the vast majority of scholars say, is that you put water in your hand. It's not soaking wet. Some people wash their heads, and this is wrong. This is invalid. The right way is to wipe, and this is a concession from Allah to ease things for us, because if we have to wash our heads 5 times a day, we will definitely have sinus, cold, and we'll be sick all day long. But Allah Azza wa Jal made it easy. So your hands are wet. There's no water actually being carried in them. It's wet. You just, from the top of your head or hair, you go backwards, and then you come forward once. That is it. This is one way of doing it. To those who have normal hair or short hair, what about for women who have long hair, or men who have hair that is difficult to tidy up after disturbing? So there is another hadith which is authenticated by Al-Albani that the Prophet used to do this. So those who have long hair, from the top of the head, you follow the roots till the end of the hair. So if you have hair coming down like this, you wet your hand, you do this, you do this, you do this. So you don't bring forward and backwards, and this would keep your hair intact and would fulfill wiping over the head. So two ways of doing it, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Number 4, washing one's feet up to the ankles. And the ayah you know. The ankles are the two bones coming out from the foot and the leg. So the leg and the foot, you have these two bolts on the side. These are the ankles. So you wash the whole foot up and the ankles level, and that is it. To the top level of the ankles, not the bottom. So you include them in washing. And the hadith of Ibn Zayd also explains this. So then we have number 6, and that is odd. Maybe I copied and pasted it wrongly, but there should be number 5. So number 5 should be the order, which we spoke about earlier, and that is you have to have this order. You cannot wash your arms, then go to your face, then go to your feet, then wipe over your head. You have to follow the sequence mentioned in the Quran and done by the Prophet ﷺ. This is crystal clear. But it is permissible for you to begin with your left hand, arm, and then wash your right. Wash your left foot, then wash your right. Because the order has been followed, you've gone against the sunnah. But your wudu is valid. So it is the face, arms, head, feet. You have to follow this sequence. But in each level, you can play around. So if you wash your left arm first, then wash your right arm afterwards, this is permissible. Number 6, continuous progress. And this means washing one organ immediately after the one before it without any delay. And we spoke about this, so I don't think, inshallah, we have to elaborate on it anymore. Now, the author says the recommended part. And as I stated earlier, I beg to differ. So in the mandatory parts, he did not mention swirling the water in the mouth when washing your face. You swirl water first, you sniff up your nostrils water and then blow it out, then wash your face. And he didn't also mention wiping of the ears, because the Prophet himself ﷺ said the ears are from the head. So this means that we must wipe over our ears with the same water used to wipe our heads. So we wipe our heads and immediately go to the ears, put the index finger inside and your thumb outside, and you wipe. That's it. You don't take new water for that thing. So the author did not mention this, and he now says the recommended part, and he considers it to be sunnah. So number 1, saying Bismillah. And the vast majority of scholars say that saying Bismillah is recommended, but it has no impact on the validity of your wudu. Some people think that if they do not say Bismillah in the beginning, their wudu is invalid. And this is not true, because the hadith that backs this up is not authentic, as made weak by Imam Ahmad and Imam Nawawi, and also Sheikh ibn Ibrahim and Ibn Uthaymeen. Number 2, it is recommended according to the author to brush one's teeth. And brushing meaning that using this twig, miswak, So it is recommended to do that during or after or before wudu, and also to do it before prayer. And the Prophet had stated in an authentic hadith, had I not fear to burden my ummah, I would have instructed them to make or to use a siwak before every prayer time. Number 3, washing one's hands 3 times at the start. And we address this. This is a sunnah, and it's true that it is recommended to do. Number 4, rubbing one's face to ensure that one's wet fingers go through one's thick beard. Now, these are 2 different things. The author has mixed 2 things together. Rubbing the organs in wudu is a recommended sunnah. Putting your wet fingers inside your beard is a recommended sunnah separate from that. So if a person just washes his face without rubbing it, this is valid, yet still he has to a different sunnah, which is putting water in his palm and just getting it inside, one handful of. This was the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and this is for those whose beard are thick. Those whose beard are light, you can see the skin underneath, washing the face suffices for them. And number 4, rubbing one's face. So the issue of rubbing, it is recommended for the face, for the arms, and for the feet. But if you just dip them in water or just put them under the faucet and it covers the whole organ, this does the job. The wudu is valid. It is recommended that you do the rubbing part to it. Number 5, starting with the right hand or foot, and we've gone through that, so I will not repeat it. Number 6, washing one's face, hands, and feet 3 times. And this is sunnah, and this is the max. See, the minimum in wudu is once. So I can wash my face once. I can wash it twice, and I can wash it maximum 3 times. And this all was done by the Prophet ﷺ. I can also alternate. So I wash my face once, and then decide to wash my arms 3 times, and wash my feet twice. No problem, the same wudu. So it doesn't have to be 1-1-1 or 2-2-2 or 3-3-3. It can be 1-3-2, up to your preference and what you wish. But of course, 3 times is the max, and it is the best because it's more purifying. Rinsing one's mouth, we have discussed this, and it is mandatory and not recommended. Likewise, cleaning one's nose and wiping one's ears for the hadith. Number 10, the author says glorification after the ablution. So there are a number of dua to be said after ablution. You can find this in Sahih, in the Fortress of the Muslim of Sheikh Sa'id ibn Wahb al-Qahtani, may Allah have mercy on his soul, and also in Sahih al-Adhkar or Sahih al-Kalim al-Tayyib. All of these books of Adhkar, you will find it inshallah in it. And number 11, to utilize the amount of water being used. So you should have a sort of economy. A lot of us just opens the tap, the faucet, and performs wudu in an amount that is a lot, which is not according to the sunnah, which is not at all recommended in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ, when he performed wudu, as we are told by the ahadith, and when he performed ghusl, the amount he used was very negligible, to the extent or to the amount that the companion said he used to perform ghusl with 1 sa', and he used to perform wudu with 1 mud. And these are measurements of the size of a container. So a mud is what gathers in a person's hands. And if you put water, definitely it's not going to be a lot, maybe 300 milliliter. But if you put rice or dates and fill it up to the rim, and then you put it in a vessel, usually it's going to be about 600 to 700 milliliters. This is his wudu. A sa' for his ghusl is 4 mud. And this means it's about 2 liters, give or take. When we perform wudu, we use at least 5 liters because the tap is running. And this is totally wrong and not permissible. I think it is time for the questions and answers. I'm waiting for my admins to send us the questions, inshallah. I don't see anything here, so let us give them a couple of minutes and see when they will, inshallah, send us the questions. So where are we? So these are the recommended parts of the wudu. The following paragraph says,